If I had known that the man I loved would humiliate me in front of hundreds just to run away with a maid, maybe I would have walked out first. Maybe I would have saved myself from the kind of heartbreak that makes the air leave your lungs and your voice crack with disbelief. But life has a strange sense of timing, because the night he shattered me was the same night someone much more powerful noticed me standing in ruins, and decided he wasn't going to let me fall. The day started beautifully, at least on the surface. The venue shimmered with gold drapes, soft lighting, and flowers arranged in tall crystal vases. My mother had insisted on blending orchids with white roses, saying it symbolized purity and new beginnings. I remember her smiling at me as she adjusted my veil one last time, her fingers trembling with excitement. My father paced nervously as guests poured into the hall. Business partners, extended family, friends we hadn't seen in years. Everyone had come to witness what was supposed to be the happiest moment of my life. Everyone except Adrian. He wasn't by my side as he promised. Wasn't waiting for me at the entrance when I arrived. Instead, I found him pacing backstage, running a hand through his hair like he was fighting invisible demons. When he finally looked at me, his eyes darted away instantly, unable to hold my gaze. A small part of me wondered why he seemed more hesitant than happy, but I brushed it off as nerves. After all, it was our engagement day. Maybe the weight of it was getting to him. But the moment the music softened, and the host announced our entrance, that uneasy feeling inside me deepened. He stood beside me, stiff and distracted, barely glancing my way. Cameras flashed as guests clapped, waiting for the ring ceremony. I smiled, pretending not to notice the sweat on his palms, or the tremor in his breath. I kept telling myself everything would be fine once we slipped the rings onto each other's fingers and the pressure eased. Couldn't have been more wrong. When the time came, I lifted my hand toward him, my heart beating with a mix of joy and nervousness. But Adrian didn't lift his hand. Instead, he took one step back. The crowd noticed instantly. The whispers grew louder, spreading like wildfire. My mother froze in her seat. My father shot up, ready to intervene. The host swallowed hard, unsure if he should continue or stop. "Adrian?" I whispered, trying to steady my voice. "Is everything okay?" He looked at me, really looked, and I saw something I never thought I'd see in his eyes. Guilt. He began, but his voice cracked. He cleared his throat, but it didn't help. "I can't do this." The hall fell completely silent. Even the air felt still, like the entire world paused to hear the train wreck about to unfold. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to force a smile. "You're nervous, that's all." "No," he said loudly, too loudly. "I'm not nervous. I'm not confused. I'm in love with someone else." My heart stopped. For a moment, I genuinely thought the floor beneath me had shifted. Someone else. My voice came out small, fragile. He stepped away from me and turned toward the entrance of the hall. "She's right there," he said, raising his hand. I followed his pointing finger and saw her. A maid. A girl wearing a simple black and white uniform, gripping a serving tray so tightly her knuckles were white. Her eyes were wide, darting around like she desperately wanted to disappear. She looked terrified, unsure why she was being dragged into the spotlight. "Her name is Layla," Adrian said. "I love her. I don't want this arranged engagement." "I don't love you. I never did. I love her." The hall erupted, gasps, whispers, muffled laughter. Heat flooded my face. My throat tightened. My chest felt like something heavy sat on it. "You're joking," I managed to say, my voice shaking violently. "I'm not," he said, and his eyes softened as he rushed toward the maid. "Layla, come on. We're leaving." "No, Adrian, please," she whispered, trembling. But he grabbed her hand anyway, pulling her with him as they hurried toward the exit. Guests recorded them, murmuring in disbelief as the doors slammed shut behind them. And just like that, I was left alone on the stage, surrounded by gold decorations meant to celebrate a union that had never truly existed. People stared at me not with sympathy, but with pity coated in judgment. "She got dumped for a maid?" Someone whispered. "That's humiliating," another person said. I knew he wasn't into her. One woman murmured loudly. My vision blurred. My knees threatened to give out. I covered my face with my hands, trying to catch my breath as the cameras continued flashing. My mother tried to reach me, but she was blocked by groups of people, moving closer, whispering like my heartbreak was entertainment. I wanted the world to swallow me whole. I wanted to scream, to run, to wake up from this nightmare. But I could do none of that. My legs wouldn't move. My voice wouldn't come out. Just when I felt myself drowning in humiliation, A shadow moved across the stage, calm, steady, unhurried. A man stepped forward, not rushing, not startled, almost as if he had been waiting for the right moment. He stood nearly a head taller than everyone else, dressed in a tailored black suit that looked like it belonged on magazine covers. His expression wasn't pitying, nor mocking. It was unreadable, but intense. He offered me a white handkerchief. When I looked up into his eyes, I recognized him instantly. Leon Marcellus. A name that carried weight. A face known across business magazines, political conferences, and luxury events. He was a man who rarely showed up anywhere unless he had a reason. And yet, he was standing in front of me, extending kindness without hesitation. "You're trembling," he said quietly, his voice deep and steady. "I'm fine," I whispered, though I sounded anything but fine. "No," he replied. "You're not. But you will be." I stared at him, confused and overwhelmed. "Why? Why are you helping me?" I asked. He held my gaze for a moment, and something flickered in his eyes, something dark, something personal. "Because I know what betrayal looks like," he said. "And I know what it does to a person." My lips parted, but no words came. His voice wasn't cold. It wasn't distant. It was honest, painfully honest. The hall had emptied by then, leaving only a few staff packing up decorations. My parents stepped aside, letting him speak to me, maybe because they sensed something I didn't yet understand. Leon glanced at the abandoned engagement ring lying on the stage floor. "You didn't lose anything tonight," he said. "You were set free." A tear escaped my eye before I could stop it. And in that moment, something inside me shifted, not healed, not restored, but awakened. I had no idea then, but the man standing in front of me was about to change everything. My future, my strength, my entire sense of worth. And the one person who would be most destroyed by that change was the man who walked out on me. If Adrian thought he ruined my life, he should have stayed long enough to watch how the man he envied the most decided to rewrite my future piece by piece, promise by promise, until the day he walked into a room and saw what he lost, standing confidently on the arm of the man he could never compete with, because the truth was simple. The moment he walked out of my life, someone better walked in. Someone who didn't just pick up the broken pieces, he helped me build something stronger out of them. My life didn't magically transform the moment Adrian left with the maid. The first few weeks were agonizing. Every morning I woke up with the same hollow feeling, the same sting of humiliation replaying in my mind. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was the public betrayal that felt impossible to wash off. I stopped attending events, avoided phone calls, and ignored messages from relatives asking if I was recovering. Recovering from what? Being discarded like a temporary placeholder? Being compared to a maid my fiancé somehow chose over me? Some mornings I stayed in bed long after the sun rose, staring at the ceiling, wondering if everyone looked at me as a joke. But strangely enough, someone else looked at me like I was anything but a joke. Leon. He didn't flood me with attention or force conversations. He would simply check in with a short message, "Have you eaten?" Or "Are you resting today?" Or sometimes, "You don't owe the world a performance. Take your time." At first, I thought he was being polite. Men like him, powerful, wealthy, surrounded by admirers, didn't spend their time comforting women who were heartbroken nobodies. But Leon wasn't like most men. He had a quiet intensity, a gravity that pulled you in without demanding anything in return. And more than once, I found myself replying to his messages when I couldn't reply to anyone else's. One evening, after a long day of avoiding reality, I received a brief text, "Come downstairs, just 10 minutes." Confused and slightly irritated, I went down expecting, I don't know what, really. Maybe a driver with a message. Maybe a delivery. Instead, Leon himself stood waiting beside a black car, dressed casually for once, holding 2 cups of coffee. I froze. "What are you doing here?" "Getting you out of your house," he said simply. "You're drowning in silence." "You don't even know me," I whispered. His eyes softened. "I know pain, and I know isolation. You don't have to be alone in either." I hesitated, but something in his voice, steady, warm, safe, made me nod. He didn't take me anywhere extravagant. We drove to a quiet overlook with city lights shimmering below like glowing confessions. For the first time in weeks, I breathed without feeling like something was crushing my chest. We talked, not about Adrian, not about the scandal, not even about the engagement. Leon spoke about his travels, the people he'd met, the betrayals he'd survived, and the price of choosing the wrong people. And I slowly, reluctantly found myself opening up too. I told him about my dreams, the small business idea I'd abandoned for the relationship that had swallowed 5 years of my life. I confessed that I no longer knew if I could trust my own judgment. Leon listened, really listened, not interrupting, not judging. You weren't weak, he finally said. You were loyal, but loyalty means nothing to someone who doesn't value it. His words hit me so deeply. I couldn't stop the tears, no matter how hard I tried. He didn't try to wipe them. He didn't try to fix them. He simply let me cry, quietly staying by my side in the soft glow of city lights. That night changed something in me. It didn't erase my pain, but it cracked a window open in the dark room I had trapped myself in, and Leon kept that window open, day by day. Weeks turned into months, and slowly I rebuilt myself. He began encouraging me to return to the business plan I had given up. I had always wanted to start a boutique consulting firm for small businesses, helping them develop brand identity and marketing strategies, things I was good at, but had never believed I could pursue. Adrian always said it was too unstable, and I had given up before even trying. Leon didn't tolerate that kind of thinking. You're brilliant, he said once, during a late-night phone call. But brilliance means nothing if you keep burying it beneath someone else's shadow. Are you saying I was living in Adrian's shadow? I asked softly. No, he replied. You were kneeling in it. That sentence burned, but it also ignited something fierce inside me, so I tried. Slowly at first, cautiously. Leon connected me with designers, financial advisors, people who could guide, but never influence my decisions. What impressed me most was that he never took credit for anything. He never inserted himself where he wasn't needed. He simply held out his hand whenever I reached for it. And I did, more often than I expected. Within months, my business launched and flourished faster than I ever dreamed. Clients came in waves, and suddenly I found myself scheduling meetings, reviewing campaigns, and hiring a small team. My days filled with purpose. My nights filled with unexpected conversations with a man whose presence felt like a steady heartbeat in the chaos of my rebuilding life. One evening, after a successful pitch presentation, Leon invited me to a charity gala. Just as my guest, he clarified, perhaps sensing my hesitation. Not as a date. Just come because you deserve to be seen for who you are now. I agreed. It wasn't until the night of the gala, when I walked down the staircase in a gown I'd spent weeks trying to feel worthy of, that I realized something. I no longer thought about Adrian every morning. I no longer flinched at whispers about the scandal. I no longer felt broken. And Leon saw that. You're glowing, he murmured as he offered his arm. Not because of the dress, because of the woman wearing it. Walking into that ballroom felt like entering a new life. People turned to stare, some shocked, some jealous, some whispering. But none of their opinions mattered. For the first time, I was walking into a room not as someone who had been abandoned, but as someone who had rebuilt herself from ashes. But the moment that defined everything was when Adrian appeared across the hall. He froze, completely, like a statue carved out of regret. His drink tipped in his hand. His face drained of color. His mouth fell slightly open, as if the very sight of me strangled the breath from his lungs. I felt nothing for him, no pain, no heartbreak, no lingering attachment. Just closure. He walked toward me in hesitant steps, his voice shaking. You look different. I'm different, I said calmly. His eyes darted to Leon beside me, who stood straight and protected without even trying. You're with him, Adrian whispered. Before I could speak, Leon's voice cut through the air, cool, collected, dangerous. She's with me, and you should keep your distance. Adrian stumbled back, guilt and shock painting his expression unevenly. He looked at me like he finally understood what he'd lost, not a fiancée, not a future wife, but the woman he never deserved. But I just smiled gently and said, You didn't break me. You freed me. And for the first time, Adrian truly looked small. As Leon and I walked away, something warm settled in my chest. Not just triumph. Not revenge. Peace. Because losing Adrian didn't destroy my life. It opened the door for a much better one. And I wasn't going to waste a second of it.